To talk about several things tonight. Uh, the main crux is Skywarn, weather spotting, and linked repeater systems. And to give you a little bit of history, I put a link in the chat that talks about the tornado outbreak of April 15 through 16 of 1998. And what happened on that period was a 2-day tornado outbreak, kind of not unlike what we experienced on Friday into Saturday, except this was in April, which is typically tornado season for us, the beginning in Tennessee. And we had two F5s, I believe, is what we have here. One is what we call the Forgotten F5, which happened in Lawrence County, Tennessee. And then the tornado that went through Nashville, uh, which became famous because tornadoes typically don't hit populated cities, right? Um, but on that during that period, in multiple states, there were 63 tornadoes confirmed. Maximum rating was an F5. The duration of the outbreak was 1 day, 7 hours, and 30 minutes. Uh, 12 fatalities, approximately 120 injuries, damage of $133 million, and affecting Midwestern and Southern United States. And so that was a cool little fact thing that is actually posted in Wikipedia, which is what that link is from. And all total out of that outbreak, there were 13 fatalities, and it's broken down by state. 8 of them were in Tennessee, 2 were in Nashville. I'm not sure what the one of them was, but I know one was a poor unfortunate soul that was in Centennial Park in Nashville near the Vanderbilt area that I think had a tree come down on them. And a lot of that stuff probably, or some of it, can be avoided. I mean, who wants to be out in the middle of a park during a tornado? But that certainly happened. So what was happening behind the scenes, or happening on the radio at that time, is our already existing Skywarn networks were all cranked up uh, and operational, but they were doing that individually by county. There was no coordination between the counties, or if there was very little uh, with regards to sharing of information on a widespread basis. And to correct Steve a little bit, the actual founder and father of our Mtairs repeater system is Mike Davis, W1ARN, who is and still is an electronics engineer at the Nashville Weather Service in Old Hickory, Tennessee. And they had a ham radio station there, which we did have the foresight to have that established long, long ago, back even in the 70s or whatnot. When we came to town, we made sure that we had communications interoperable between the Weather Service and our state emergency management agencies and whatnot. So Mike was frantically bouncing around to local repeaters on 2 meters, trying to get information from the counties and also trying to get some information to the counties with regard to this dangerous outbreak. So out of that, several months later, or actually probably shortly after that, I believe he ordered a repeater and got permission to put that repeater at our state emergency management office, which happens to have a nice 420-foot tower uh, right outside their office. And hence, Mtairs was born. And I believe he also linked up with the group in Cookeville, Tennessee. and they linked up a remote base to a repeater over there, and they linked up to a repeater system in Lawrenceburg so that this would not be as difficult of a situation to get the information out of those counties. Shortly thereafter, he got his repeater up. We had a all hands on deck meeting with repeater owners in the area, and we put forth the idea that we link some repeaters together. We had a wealth of UHF repeaters around the area that were basically just not doing anything, did not have any much of a purpose, and not very many users. So we suggested that we band together and link these up. I think I had 4 or 5 such repeaters already on the air. And in short order, we expanded the system to probably about 10. And we called it the Mtairs system, Middle Tennessee Emergency Amateur Radio System, repeater system. And we're going to try to do a screen share here. So Dan, if you give me the ability, I'm going to want to try to put a couple things up. So let's see what I can do here. I'm going to open up my share screen, and we're going to go here first. Okay, can you all see my my pale moon screen?
Yes.
Anybody there?
Yes, sir, we see it.
I don't hear anybody.
Yes, we can see it.
See it in Florida.
It's there.
Okay.
Tom, you hearing us?
I can see it in Florida too.
Barely. Okay, can you hear me, Ingrid?
Yes.
You can? Okay, good. All right, I'm going to stop my share for a minute. Okay. All right, let's see if I can hear anybody.
The rest of us were muted, Tom.
We can hear you.
Tom.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
You're good.
All right, I'm going to bring the share screen back up. And I'm going to show you our Mtairs system. Nope, that didn't work. Oh, here we go. Okay.
There it is.
So what we have is about 30 repeaters or so in our system. And it looks somewhat like this. And I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. And as you can see, we've got the state pretty well covered. And that is now how we get our information. One of the ways we get information immediately into the Weather Service by calling an organized net that asks for liaison stations from the different counties. All the counties will still run their normal nets, but they will designate a liaison or two back to the Mtairs net to pass their information. Now, also along with this, we work in conjunction with NWS chat to enter this information into the Weather Service. And the way that works, for those that are familiar, is an interactive chat between the ham radio operators, emergency management agencies. Oops, hold on a second. The emergency managers, media, and the other partners. Okay. Get out of that. And that system has worked very well. And we have the ability to communicate with our not only our local weather office, but other weather offices around the area. Tennessee is covered by about four or five weather service offices. The main ones are Memphis, Nashville, and Morristown, but we also have an overlap with Huntsville. And with that covers all of our 95 counties in the state of Tennessee. So we've made a lot of progress with the ability to share our information in a timely manner and an accurate manner with the Weather Service partners, keeping the traffic off of the air as much as possible. We take the initial reports from the counties. They may, their liaisons who hopefully are on NWS chat may also make their entries straight into the system. And that's also interactive with the weather office forecasters. They're able to ask questions back to get other information as needed. So another tool that we use is called Slack, and that is a discussion group. You know, if you remember the old AOL instant messenger and whatnot, this is leaps and bounds ahead of what AOL was. All right, now the next tool that we use, and I'm going to see if I can share this one properly, is GR Level 3, which is a weather radar program. And the cool thing about GR Level 3 is we have the ability to add overlays. And I'm gonna bring that up here.
All we're seeing is OHX chat.
Okay. I'm starting a new.
I think you need to stop sharing the chat and then start sharing the other, Tom.
Okay, I'm going to stop that share and we'll bring one up here in a minute. But with GR Level 3, we have a the ability to put overlays into that radar map with a feature called place files. And you can go to placefilenation.com, and I'm going to put that link in the chat. And this is also a brainchild of Mike Davis, W1ARN. And it has customized links and overlays to put the different weather products to overlay on the map for GR level 3. And what that does for us is gives us the ability to put the weather products on the map. We can bring APRS objects into the map and other types of interesting weather information, as well as other points of interest. We have hospital overlays, we have repeater overlays, and the like, which helps us identify where the weather might be affecting some of our critical facilities. One of the other tools that we use within Slack is the ability to open up a discussion room, and we put our net controllers may come up, and we'll be able to interactively talk back channel, so to speak, and coordinate our operations in order to handle handoffs for our net control, discuss some of the weather activities that might be happening, and the like. After that, we also might use Zoom or a free conference call, but with the chat room capabilities within Slack, that has pretty well superseded the need to open up another application, which makes it really handy. Another tool we use, we have a pretty broad mesh network in Tennessee, and we have cameras located on our repeater sites, and we have voice over IP telephones that, again, we're able to discuss issues, talk to our served agencies. We have phones in our Tennessee Emergency Management Agency all the way down to the situation room, and the hospitals, several of them in their dispatch centers, and the like. We have partnerships with our local EMAs, as I mentioned, our area airports, military, and other groups. I'm going to bring one up here and see if I can share some pictures, hopefully. And see if I can get this to go. Okay, I'm going to try a screen. Is my screen share up at this point showing some pictures?
Not yet.
No,
No,
no.
Say no. Okay. All right.
Up at the top, it should, in red, it should say share screen on the right-hand side.
Yep. I'm going to get that going here.
Down at the bottom also, there's a green share screen.
Yep. I got to get my taskbar out of the way for that. So just bear with me a sec. I see Al has started screen sharing. Stand by.
Who is that that's up there? Is that you with the Zoom screen, Tom?
No, that's it looked like it was Al. All right. And let me get rid of this. Okay, here we go. And share. Okay, do you see pictures now?
Not yet. You got to click that other one.
They'll come up.
There.
Okay.
Got pics now.
These are pictures from one of our partners, SOS ER. That's SOS-ER.org that we work with to support our air show operations, search and rescue, and whatnot. They are typically a dive team organization, but they have a lot of other equipment. And this is a deployment at an air show. There's their RV. And this is kind of a shot. It's a toy hauler type of unit. And they've got drop boxes that they set up back in the storage area. And that's our mesh dish and a camera. I don't know as they come through if these things are scrolling too fast. But here comes one that's really cool. That's a Blue Angel or an FA-18 that was passing by. One of our mesh dishes.
Can you describe how you use mesh and what it is here?
Yeah, what we use, our mesh network, and you can go to Arden, AREDN mesh.org and learn about it. That's a high-speed data network that allows us to share video. We've got a VoIP phone system. And we can share WinLink messages at high speed and at high data sizes. When using WinLink on a mesh system with the mesh post office, we have a 5 megabyte file limit rather than the 120K file limit. So that opens up a lot of possibilities for us. Okay, one of the important things that I mentioned earlier with regards to weather spotting and Skywarn and pretty much any auxiliary communication support is relationships. And that's something that you build over time with your agencies. And we enjoy some very good relationships with many of the agencies throughout the state and with other states, just like what we're attempting to, or what we are accomplishing here with the Rat Pack series, is promoting interoperability between as many of the states that choose to participate here, putting us all in one sandbox and sharing ideas. And boy, have we shared a lot of ideas over the several months with all of the great presentations that we have seen. And that, I believe, pretty well wraps it up. I wanted to open up to interactive discussion and any questions.
How about DMR?
DMR, of course, is a new, well, it's not new. It's a technology for repeaters and communications. It's been around for a long, long time. Tennessee, at least in the communications support, has just recently, maybe within the last 3 years, begun to embrace DMR and use it for communications support. And we have a very good repeater system throughout the state, or group of repeaters throughout the state that are also connected to, we're using Brandmeister at this point in time. And we have used it. We've used it for our nuclear exercises recently with great success. The clarity of the audio, the flexibility of breaking off into the different talk groups to handle our communications has been very valuable. We also have 3 dedicated talk groups to support our 3 weather offices in Tennessee. We've got basically one for East, one for Middle, and one for West. And actually in West Tennessee, the Memphis Weather Service has licensed ham radio operators that actually call the weather net from the weather office. They're the forecasters, and they actually call their net on DMR on I think it's 31471. So that's another emergency or a technology that we are embracing and using. But the cool thing is that we have all of these technologies available, and if we use them properly, everybody will benefit. Okay, let's open it up for questions.
You might want to
Tom.
mention, okay, let me raise my hand.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
I want to mention our WinLink interface to the NWS Hamjet.
Yes, absolutely. Probably several years ago, I asked Phil to develop an interface from WinLink into NWS chat such that we can at first be able to post our entries to NWS chat via WinLink, and that in case we have a internet failure and whatnot, we have other ways by radio to get the information into NWS chat. And we also have the ability to retrieve and inquire the history from the different rooms. Our posting goes to the Nashville room, but I believe we have the ability to direct it to different rooms, and we have the ability to retrieve that information from the different chat rooms based on a time window of hours or even days, and then it will gather up the history and send a message back to the requester. And we have used that on several occasions to help where we have people who did not have internet or did not have service.
You have any formal training process or regular scheduled on-air check-ins?
Well, we
for-
have, yes, we have 2 series of scheduled nets. Every Monday night, we have a statewide net for our Skywarn communications, Aries, whatever. It's just the Mtairs net. And we take the check-ins rolling from east to west. And we typically have anywhere from 100 up to about 140 check-ins during that net. And also on the 3rd Thursday, we have a hospital net where we exercise the installations in our trauma hospitals throughout the state. And we just concluded that today. And that also works very well. And we also utilize WinLink in that one, along in parallel with the voice net. We also encourage the facilities to send a WinLink message. And those are
Tom,
yes.
is it possible to have a copy of this dissertation for me to present to our Aries group?
You're talking about this tonight is being recorded. So yes.
Right, right. I'd like to have that because I'm sure you know that the average Aries people don't know the depth to what we go to. And this would be great to maybe wake some of them up and realize just the depth that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe Dan posts the recordings shortly, a day or so after each of these sessions. And Dan, correct me, I believe you've got a place where we can go and pull all of the presentations somewhere. Is that correct?
That is correct. When we send out the follow-ups on these things, you'll see there where you'll see, be able to watch this presentation again and any of the others. I got a place there to check all that out. And any documentations you want attached to this presentation, be sure to give them to me soon, because I can make that available for people to click on and see also.
Oh, okay. I think who is it? Barry that reads that handles the question process.
Yes, he does. Before I go any farther, folks, we got 71 people in here. So rather than just jumping in, please raise your hand if you want to speak on there. And Barry, right now, if you would go over it and see what we got in text, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I see we do have some questions. Let me run down this list. Dan, as a matter of fact, if you could step through it and from the top down, and let's see what our questions are in order.
I don't have control of your screen. Let's have Barry do it over there. That might be easier.
Okay, I'm looking at the.
Okay, I got some questions. Who designates the liaison for the county to the Weather Service?
Okay, you say from the county?
Yeah, who designates your liaison? You said you have liaisons at each EMA. Who designates?
Yes. No, well, I didn't say EMA. I said every county.
Okay.
So that can be a Skywarn group, that could be an Aries group, that could be an Oxcom group, whoever the recognized emergency communications support or Skywarn group in that county is, will designate a representative to relay the information from their local net. And so it's the local county groups designate their liaison.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
And
So
does the National Weather Service support ham radio in the WFOs? And I believe that's up to each WFO. It doesn't come and it doesn't in others.
Right. Of course, ours in all three, Memphis, Morristown, and Nashville, they all support ham radio operations in their WFOs. Of course, COVID has severely, right now, there's no operations. As a matter of fact, a lot of the forecasters, I think, are operating remotely. But it's been, since the beginning of COVID, nobody, at least none of the ham radio operators have been able to go into the WFOs. But before that, we have stations established there. We had procedures to go into the WFO, usually during severe outbreaks. But with the advent of NWS chat and other technologies, it would have to be really bad for us to send an operator there, because obviously you don't want to put somebody in danger during bad weather. But the need to have a body in the Weather Service office that's a ham radio operator of our group has diminished for several reasons. One is that we encouraged and trained a lot of the forecasters to be ham radio operators. And we're very fortunate in Nashville. We've got several, of course, Mike Davis. He is the, he's been at it since the mid 90s, late 90s. And so he's there. And, but yes, we would send people to the Weather Service office, but that has changed with technology.
Okay. Now, do you guys use any remote weather data gathering stations to gather data, so you don't have to send people out in severe weather and you can use the remote stations?
Yeah, the one is on our mesh network. We have a number of remote weather stations that are attached to it that are publishing to Weather Underground and such like that. And we have direct access to those stations over our mesh network.
Okay.
Also, the let's see here. A lot of, or a good number of our spotters, or a good number of them are part of the cooperative observer program. And they also share their data with us directly as well as, of course, straight with the Weather Service.
Okay. Let's see. Are there any plans to add additional repeaters to the Mtairs linked repeaters?
There's
Ronnie Brewer is located in Fairview, Tennessee, in Williamson County, between Repeater and Pasco in West Nashville and Hickam County, and coverage for that, at least for him, is marginal.
Yes, what the deal there is we actually have a repeater in Pasco that has a compromised antenna system, and that's on our list of, as a matter of fact, I believe the feed line and the antennas are already on order, and it's just a matter of getting that into the repair schedule.
All right. Great.
Once we get that going, we're good. Now we also have, of course, we do have a very good DMR system right there, overlooking that area, and several other repeaters in Williamson County. But yes, Fairview is a tricky area, but we've got a repeater, a DMR in that area. And I see another question: are our repeaters voice signals linked by mesh? At this point, no, but we have a large plan to basically replace our voice links to go over the mesh with backup on the voice, as well as control panels that will allow us to see the status of everything on the repeater with regards to push to talk, receive signal, receive strength, battery voltage, is the whole thing. So that's something that's in the works. And we have some very talented computer automation control programmers who've already got the display panel software and whatnot developed. So now all we got to do is get the equipment and interface it, and away we go.
Now, in your mesh system, can you subnet some of the areas? For example, if there's just an event in the northwestern part of the state, for example, can you isolate that part of the network and have that as a standalone network?
Absolutely. Each of the repeaters and some of the, depending on how they're linked now, we can already do that. Each repeater, of course, can be unlinked by virtue of the controller that is on them. Of course, if you do that, you may compromise the ability to link further on down the line, depending on which one you take down. With the mesh system using the asterisk VoIP system, we'll be able to unlink and link any combination that we want together and apart, which is going to really increase the utility.
Yes, most definitely. One of the people wants to see, can you post the Stark website so they can go and look at the Stark website? What website is?
Don't know what a Stark website is.
Brett, you want to come on and ask your question, and maybe you can clear it up? I guess not.
Okay. We can look that up later. All right, let's see here. Let me go. I saw the Williamson County question. I think that was the end of the questions, wasn't it?
All right, from the chat. Does anyone have raised?
Okay. From the floor.
Yeah, Tom, this is Al again. Just to let everyone know, if they haven't really seen the map, that their repeater 18 connects east to west through repeater 18. So there are 11 of us on that one repeater.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, some of these repeaters have the ability to use alternate paths in case we do have a failure. They can choose a different one. We try to at least have the ability for each repeater to be able to have an alternate to go to.
Is there a way to put that out in diagrams so we would know an alternate?
It's partial on the Mtairs map as it is. If you'll look at, I think the Oak Ridge repeater has some dotted lines that shows the alternate, but some of our others like Cookville has the ability to do multiple paths, but we have not chosen to show that, mainly because that's not a remote. I don't think that one's a remote capability. The one in Oak Ridge is remotely able to switch those links around, and that was something we were starting to play with as far as
Okay,
being
thank
able
you.
to design it. Yes.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Tom, this is Laura.
Hello, Laura, another one of our faithful net controllers and coordinators of the Mtairs system. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Laura Marler, N4CLO. I am an assisting operator with the Mtairs system. I'm also associated with the Williamson County Aries. I'm the net manager. And I believe it was Al asking earlier about wanting to get a transcript to motivate people in his area to support the Skywarn nets. What our emergency coordinator in Williamson County did last year was ask me to make a presentation how the local Williamson County Skywarn net is organized, from the very first NWS weather briefing to activation to securing, and how the local county net works with the Mtairs system and how we interface with NWS chat. And part of that reason was to demystify what's going on. And it actually was to encourage people in our county to support the local county net, rather than being in Williamson County and calling the Mtairs net control. And the emphasis on the county net is, number one, if you call into your county net, you have a net control operator that's familiar with the area and they can vet the report. The second thing is it allows people in that county to hear what's going on. If you're a new operator, you may only have a radio with a single display, but so you can't hear what's going with Mtairs. So that information is heard by the local op, goes through the Mtairs net, and is recorded in the chat. And I found, and our emergency coordinator found, that after that presentation, our reports went up substantially because people said, oh, I get it. I see why there's a certain protocol. It's not to be rigid, but it serves its purpose. And it's worked really well. Also, someone else asked about support from the weather field offices. Also, later last year, the OHX emergency warning coordinator, Chrissy Hurley, gave a presentation to our Aries group, which was very much appreciated. It was recorded, and people who are new to weather spotting or are interested in weather spotting were able to get information. One of the problems we have here, as Tom mentioned, there's so many tornadoes. What's the difference between a wall cloud and a shelf cloud? We had people misidentifying shelf clouds. Well, that dropped off quite a bit after this presentation because Chrissy was able to show both. So those are just two opportunities you can do, building up support for your local net and also explaining the importance of the Mtairs net. Just wanted to throw that in.
Thank you, Laura. And of course, in anything that we do, the emphasis on training, common sense, and good operating practices are always key. One of the things I think I hear, or that I do have heard in the past, we will read the warnings on both the Mtairs system in pretty much full text with some edits to keep them as brief as possible, but yet to get the point across. And some of the criticism we get or have received in the past is that folks are thinking that we're being alarmist or something like that. But what they've got to understand is that due to the far reach of our system, it gets into areas where NOAA Weather Radio does not. And our emergency managers really appreciate the ability to hear those with their people that are in the field. They got sheriff's office, officers, police officers, and whatnot that may not be able to hear these warnings that come out. Plus, those are relatively inefficient that come out on NOAA Weather Radio. We keep them as brief as we can and get the point across. We also read them on DMR, but in a much more brief format. We basically just put out the fact that there has been a warning issued for a particular county or counties, and very little information unless it is a tornado. If it's a life-threatening tornado like we had here Friday into Saturday, we would read more of the detail about the tornado with relation to where it was spotted or where it was located by radar, and how fast it's going and where it's going, so that people will understand the track. And if you recall or aware, I think we had some of these tornadoes that occurred Friday into Saturday went for hundreds of miles. The stuff that went through Tennessee and on up into Kentucky, that came out of Mississippi and Arkansas, and some others in Missouri that went further on up. So very long track tornadoes during both the night and unfortunately mostly at night, which makes it even more difficult for the spotters. Next question.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, would you describe to them? I know I've walked into the TEMA communication room several times and seen racks of Motorola equipment and other equipment that's being sent out to the Mtairs repeater sites. Could you describe a little bit about the hardware that's utilized?
Yes, absolutely. And I would also like to talk about the partnerships. Of those 30 plus repeaters, it's a combination of individually owned equipment, agency owned equipment, and club equipment. So it's a partnership between a broad variety of people and entities. The basic makeup of our repeaters is and we've kept this all on UHF. There's a lot of reasons for that, but all of our repeaters are UHF repeaters. We're not impacting the VHF spectrum, and we're using in-band linking at this point, which has worked out quite well. About the only thing that makes it a little more difficult is if, of course, you get something that locks down around the further area, further on out. We have to, identifying where the source is coming from. But once we get that over on the mesh and some of those other things, we'll be able to exactly pinpoint where the signal's coming from, through which repeater, as well as some DF units at the repeater sites that are actually going to be able to pinpoint the location of the offending signal, which is going to be really, really amazing. But the partnerships, the repeaters themselves, is you start out with a simple UHF repeater, either with single antenna or split antennas. In our case, a good number of our repeaters that TEMA provided are MTR 2000s with a CDM 1550 link radio and a RLC4 repeater controller. Others can be, Kenwoods, or they may be homebrew. One that I have at my Gallatin site is a homebrew Hamtronics repeater with Hamtronics receiver strip, transmitter board, SCOM controller, and duplexers and the like. And it has been just as reliable as the commercial equipment. And that whole repeater probably cost $500 or less, as opposed to the thousands of dollars of a piece of Motorola equipment. Did that answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, it did. And I'm glad you talked about partnerships, because
yes,
that's what it's all about. Fortunately, we have very little resistance to this process and a lot of support here in Tennessee. Of course, by experience, the worse it gets, the better support we get. But we have all along gotten quite a bit of support. I know that Tennessee Emergency Management Agency and some of the lead counties in the big metropolitan areas are proactive in providing all kinds of resources to make this a special option for severe weather.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, a good bit of our system upgrade occurred during the 2010 floods. And when that occurred, TEMA ordered up 10 repeater systems for emergency delivery. They came in, I think, within 2 days, and I've spent the next month starting with the actual support operations for Hickman County at the TEMA radio shop, building these repeaters, usually 3 and 4 at a time in parallel, and deploying them during the disaster, which was really, really something. But we built up 8 repeaters during that event, and either deployed them in new locations or they replaced existing aging equipment and really made for a big improvement in our system.
Okay. Chris from Tennessee wants to know how to get into the Slack group.
They just send me an email, k1ky@bellsouth.net, and introduce themselves, and we'll get them an invitation.
Okay.
I'd like to inject here, Laura and anybody else, Tom, that have any documentations, flyers or whatever that will go with this presentation, be sure to give them to me or to Steve so he can give them to me so we can include that with this presentation for those that see it afterwards.
Yes.
I'm sure that if Laura has that presentation for Williamson County, that's got to be representative and then some. It's got to be very good.
Absolutely. And also, Steve, if you'll include your little intro page, that will take care of the rest of it.
All right.
As well as the recording of this session.
All right.
Laura, do you have that presentation available?
This is Laura. I have it as a PowerPoint presentation.
Perfect.
Laura, also, how about your net preambles?
For local or Mtairs or both?
For both, for Mtairs and the local. I think those would be great resources for other groups to pick up off of.
There's an archive on our Mtairs Dropbox with the emergency as well as the routine net information. And I keep tweaking the local Williamson County Skywarn thing. We're in a process of changing our spreadsheet for the Williamson County weekly net.
Okay, just get whatever you can to Dan. One other thing I wanted to stress, which is a very simple operational tidbit, is that when we put our repeater in severe weather mode, we change the courtesy beep on the system from just a simple beep to a CWW to indicate that we are in weather mode. We also, when we're doing our regular nets or we have nets for relief or support, we have it change that courtesy beep to an N to indicate that it's a net. So our Monday night net, our hospital nets, and any other net that would be a support net, we put it in what we call net mode. And it does not change anything to do with the linking of the systems. It's simply a indication of what mode we are operating in. So if people can begin to learn their CW, real simple, they can learn what an N is and learn what a W is and learn what an E is, then they'll be able to know what mode the repeater system is operating. Next.
I think we're good.
Well, that's just me again, one more time, Tom. As many of these presentations that I can receive will help me educate our group. When I moved here 13 years ago, there were barely 30 individuals. We have over 92 now, and a lot of them are willing to get involved. So it would be just enhance us here in Cumberland County to be able to participate in emergencies.
Good deal. Hang on. Yes. Okay, where was that? Question about the overlay maps for GR level 3. Placefilenation.com. Let's see here. And there it is. Yes, a link. Let me put that in here.
Okay,
Laura, I put Dan Marlar's email address in the chat.
Thank you. That was going to be my next question to Dan. Thank you.
Let's see here. That was a direct message.
Dan from California wants to know if you've considered reaching out to the National Park Service at the Great Smoky Mountains to get access to the repeater site on Klingman's Dome in Sevier County along the ridgetop.
There is Klingsman's Dome. I'm not aware of any activity, but we do have a couple of mountains over. We already have some good sites in Sevier County near Gatlinburg that covers that area very well. We also have one in Bradley County that's going to be coming online that's going to be really, really nice. But yes, that is a killer site. And I believe, let's see, is Klingman's in Tennessee or is it in North Carolina?
I think the line is right there at the dome on the top.
Yeah.
Where it's the state road that goes east-west through the park
Mhm.
into Cherokee County, I think, or
Yeah.
no, Maggie. What's the county on the, Cherokee County in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Depends on what side of the parking lot you park.
Yeah, exactly. Restrooms on Tennessee side, the best parking spaces are on North Carolina.
Yes. But I tell you what, I'm in I think Tom W3TDH. Here we go. Let me try this. Somehow
Especially with the nexus with NOAA, I think the Park Service generally has a policy of being accommodating for this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just a matter of having somebody over there work it and push it. That question has never come up before. And there's not a lot of population over there, but I can guarantee you that it certainly has coverage. And as a matter of fact, when I was up there last from my mobile, I was able to work straight back to the Mtairs hub repeater from my car. And I don't think that was a band opening situation. So
Bendix King bricks get to that and from that pretty much throughout the park.
Yeah.
Obviously shaded in some drainages.
Yep. But if somebody wants to take it on and sees a need, sees a need, then go for it. But we do have good partnerships, of course, with all the agencies. I'm trying to recall that if we have, I don't know that we've got any equipment on any federal sites at this point, but usually the state sites and our county sites and whatnot have been more than sufficient. I did post, and I think it's up there now. The placefilenation.com. Can somebody confirm that came through?
It did come through.
Okay, perfect. There's a lot of resources on there. The APRS objects, and that has just been really amazing because I had a station over there near Chattanooga that he was an APRS object that a big storm was coming toward, and I was able to notify him well in advance, and he really appreciated it. It was really, really something. So, people in their car, if we had a spotter that's out somewhere, we can see what their progress is and steer them clear of danger. It's been really something. The hospitals, all of our hospitals, we have a place file for that. We have a place file. Another one really important is we have a place file for mile markers on the interstates. So when somebody tells us they're at mile marker 66 or something, I can see where the weather is with relation to that, or whether they have damage, and that's stuff that we can directly relay back to the weather service, and they've got it on their map, and it just helps them narrow it right down.
And I guess Winlink has also added mapping to the local weather report on their for their reports, so you can now use mapping on the local weather report.
Yeah. Oh, and another thing, if I recall, in that APRS report, there's some extra processing that goes on. Is that it tells us how far away that station is from a major or a city, and it also puts the what 3 words coordinates information in that text. So if you hover over the APRS object, it's going to tell you that it's X miles away from a particular city or location, and it's got the what three words coordinate there as well.
That's good to have.
Yes. That's a cool tool, by the way, that we've used effectively in bike rides, and it also works for weather spotting if your net controllers are in tune to that. It's a great tool to avoid a lot of confusion with regards to position reporting.
Okay, yeah, you can get an exact position report from the what 3 words.
Yeah, within 3 feet, 3 meter square, I believe it is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Brett, he's back. Go ahead there, Brett. PE3 ZBG.
Yeah, we're from London, Ontario.
With his hand raised. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Appreciate that. Just a quick question for you. I've been down to Gatlinburg quite a few times. And do you cover into that Gatlinburg area?
Absolutely. If you look at mtairs.org, you'll see a repeater right there at Gatlinburg.
Okay, because I just wondered if you were involved with any of the fires that were there a few years back, whether there was any involvement on your part.
Yes, well, our folks over in that area and the Mtairs system was used to help support that operation. And we actually had, we sent batteries to that one of our sites to handle potential outage. And they, if I recall, they got there just in time to come back down before the power towers came down. It almost put them in a more than dangerous situation, but the fires took down a lot of the power poles. But we were able to get the batteries there in time before all that came down, but it was a very close call.
That's awesome, because it's a beautiful area down there. I haven't been down there since the fires, but we're looking forward to when the borders start to open up again. When that happens, we're planning on getting down that area again. And also, I know when I've been down there before, because of the Rockies, the weather design they are there. We've been walking through town, and the one lady said to me, "You don't have an umbrella with you." And I said, well, that's, yeah, I wasn't expecting any rain, a beautiful sunny day. An hour later, I was trudging through a torrential downpour trying to get back to my car. And I guess it's pretty weather oriented down there even through Pigeon Forge.
Yes.
But thanks for your time. Greatly appreciate it. And a really great presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. One of our famous sayings here in Tennessee, if you don't like the weather, stick around 15 minutes, it will change.
I get that. Yes, I've been down to Nashville quite a few times too. Also, I drove highway coach for 10 years. We used to go out to the Opry, and just loved it down there. So thanks for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for stopping by.
All right. Are there any more questions out there?
From Kenton in Anchorage, do you send out APRS bulletins for severe weather?
We used to. Hi, Kent. Welcome. We had a guy that was doing that, sending out bulletins for the severe weather, although recently he has not, and he was also sending out traffic bulletins. But I think at this point, we got to track it down and see who was doing it and see if we can get that back again.
All right. That seems to be all the questions.
Okay, and okay, we got Brent's got his hand back up. Brent?
Sorry about that, Phyllis. I'm actually the controller for CanWarn up here, like you have Skywarn. And we cover from Toronto, Ontario to Windsor and also over to Sarnia. And I use Detroit radar to cover all that area to see what's coming in. And I've been doing it since 1995 on our storm basis. And it's quite interesting to get all the data from the US side to help me on the Canadian side. So, but I'll turn it back to you, Dan. Thanks.
Awesome. And a follow-up question: what do you have in the way of weather radars up there compared to what we have? I haven't ever studied any of the Canadian sites.
We have a radar out of Toronto, Ontario, which is just 120 miles east of me. But because of the direction of the storms that come in and the faster recovery of maybe 5 to 7 minutes, I use the Michigan radars because that's every 5 minutes. On our side, it's every 20 minutes to half hour. And it's too slow for me to keep up to the storms. So I use the 2 TV stations out of Detroit, and I also use the one out of Pontiac, Michigan, to help me get some idea what's coming in. And I usually use the NextRad also.
Okay.
To cover that.
Do you use an app like GR Level 3?
No, I haven't. I don't know that much about it.
Okay, look it up because it can combine all your radars, including the terminal data, weather radars at the airports, and you can choose which ones you get the info from.
Now that's GR Level 3?
GR Level 3, I believe grlevelx.com. As a matter of fact, I'll put this in here, grlevelx.com. It's got a 21-day free trial, and after that I think $80 or $79 gets you a lifetime license for pretty much as many computers as you want to stick it on, and then you can get the benefit of all those nice Place File Nation overlays.
Okay, I really appreciate that because our Canadian radar is sort of slow right now. So it does pick up later on, but we just have had some problems with updating and what have you. But
Right.
it does it. I go back to it eventually. And just right now, what sort of things are sort of slow. But thanks again. Do appreciate it.
Okay. And I'm looking over my list. I think I covered all the topics except for one. Is another tool that I use is an SMS instant messaging program on my computer, and that ties back into my cell phone messages. And the one I use is called Mighty Text, MIGHTY Text. And it's also a subscription service, but they've got a free one. But I think I'm paying maybe $7 a month or something for unlimited. And it is really, really worthwhile. And of course, Slack, as we talked about, works really well for messaging. And that one is available. They got a free version that limits you to 10,000 message archive, but you, as a nonprofit organization, you can sign up with them for a much larger archive and many more users. So those are our go-tos is Slack and of course NWS chat for the weather service, GR Level 3. Those are our big tools.
Well, great. Thank you so much.
And then of course there's a whole host of mobile apps that we all like to use, and you can go on and on for that, but those are the big ones for the computer.
Tom, thank you very much for all
right.
this. One of the things that I can say as a objective observer, because I'm not really deep into all of this, and that is that my observation is that it isn't all the equipment. It isn't the mesh network. It isn't Mtairs so much. It isn't anything other than an excellent example of different relationships of people with a common interest with different structures and different areas to deal with, all working together to make this thing as smooth and it is smooth. Anytime the weather gets bad, I know what's going to happen. I turn on my UHF radio and listen to the magic. Laura is just excellent, as are a lot of these other amateurs that have been doing this for quite a while and are trained. It's all orchestrated very well and makes a great deal of difference when lives and property are immediately at risk. So thank you, Tom, for taking the time to present this. I know you got other things moving right now, but I really appreciate it. Thanks. We all do.
Many moving parts.
All right, again, thank you from all of us. You did a great presentation tonight. Barry, do you have your hand up?
Oh, I'm clapping.
Oh, you are clapping. Okay. Barry's one of my co-hosts out there that's helping to make all this stuff happen, and he works hard in the background. So, and we have direct communication with each other. When I saw that, he's got his hand up. Why?
I wanted to also answer one of Devin Sohn's questions. Viper, which is the U.S.'s largest trunking state trunking system, and TACAN, which is next door to it here in Tennessee, both have interoperability to the National Forest Service, both for Cherokee National Forest and for the Smoky Mountain chain. So it is all interoperable, and if necessary, and it has in the past, it's all been linked together. Tennessee at one point took a sow in a huge trailer over to North Carolina and to patch over satellite to our state trunking system to assist theirs. They had a broken piece, and that is a regular EMAC occurrence here in Tennessee. So I hope that answers that question.
All right, thank you, Steve. Anybody else? Speak up, because I'm going to close this baby down for another episode here.
Thank you all for coming.
Yes, thank you all for coming. And as usual, after I close it down, if you want to come back and chat and meet with each other and just, whatever, just come right back in. The first person that comes back in assumes the host position. If that person decides to leave early, everybody's going to kill when he kills the connection, but and just come back in. Okay, 73s, everyone. Been a great presentation. Appreciate you.
Good job, Dan.
Thanks.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I really appreciate that.
Really appreciate
I
it.
saw repeaters number 78 in Gatlinburg,
Yeah.
and it said the highest point in Gatlinburg is the top of the Sheridan Hotel, or it was 40 years ago when we were duty stationed there.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to shut her down, folks. 73s.